Well, good evening, folks, and welcome back to the farm. Today we're gonna catch some sheep. Yes, oh yes, some of the sheep are heading off to market first thing in the morning. So the neighbor's gonna come over. We're gonna get them loaded into his trailer, and then he's gonna drop them off at the guy that's trucking them to the auction tomorrow. So I've said this before, in that if I were a gambling man, which I'm not, and I'm not because, well, I don't believe in taking unmeasured or unweighed risk. So here's the risk. We're going to send the sheep to auction, and we may lose our ass on it. We have no idea. I'm green to this. They're going to market. I don't know what the market price is. I don't know what these are going to go for specifically. So we're just hopeful we get a check in the mail at the end of all of this. And there's, that check is enough obviously to provide some profit. That's the hope. So where's the risk or what's the measured portion of this risk? What's the weighed portion of this risk? And really it comes down to, initially our plan was to grow the flock, and we're in a drought year right now with feed shortages over it's crazy. So we've had to make the tough decision to send some of our older ewes as cull ewes and some of our, the B team, I should say, down the road, because we can't afford to have subpar animals eating high quality feed in a year when we have a feed shortage. So that's the known thing. And so we're weighing that risk against the fact that we can't sustain on feed availability. So one of the things with reduced feed availability, and you can see we're doing this in behind here, is we're using portable sheep netting, the electric netting, and moving it around our actual yard site, taking advantage of obscure locations in our yard where, typically we'd have to mow the grass or manage the grass in some fashion. And so we've been, taking advantage of that to provide feed for our market lambs. And so we bought this netting last year actually, and it was about $250 or $240 for 164 feet per roll. So we got 2 rolls of it. Works very, very effectively. But we're at a point now where we're limited on space which we can really take advantage of without, getting them into the trees. And so although trees is one option for feed if you're really, really desperate, based on where we are right now, we have a huge wind exposure. And so I certainly don't want to jeopardize the potential of our wind break for future years. So we're not ready to run them into the bush here yet. But so these ones can go down the road here tomorrow, and then our breeding ewes that we have down the hill, they've actually still got quite a bit of grass, and they've been locked out of the dugout pasture which we have for about a month now. And the grass is recovered in the sense that it doesn't look tired anymore, but the growth has really been limited due to very low rainfall in our area, unfortunately. So I'm here now in the sheep pen. As you can see, I got some of these ones rounded up. And on the other side of the gate, there's Beatrice and her lambs. She's on the wrong side of the fence. That's actually really the only reason why she's going to be going down the road, is because she's such an ignorant piece of work to try and catch and round up, and she's just not a workable, herdable ewe. And that gene, that trait has definitely passed on to every single one of her lambs that she's had so far. And I'm just kind of done with it. I'm just kind of done with the nonsense and the drama, and it's just time. So see you later, Beatrice. So we've got everybody here now in the little pen, and some of them are in the shelter. So some of these ones are going to come out. There's 3 of them that are going to come out. One, the Queen's lamb, so it's the one that ripped its ear the other day, if you recall, while we were actually installing the ear tag. So he's going to come out, and that's actually going to be the 3rd year that we've actually put one of Queen's lambs in our own freezer, which is fine. She makes very, very tasty lambs. I got no problem with that. Then there's Irene's lamb is going to come out, and that'll be sold to a customer, as well as one of Rose's lambs is going to come out for direct sale to a consumer here. But everybody else is going to go down the road in the big truck. So now I really just got to think about how I'm going to facilitate this. This is one of the problems that we have here. We talk about amateur hour, man, oh man. And we've been fighting with this since 2017, since we got here is animal handling systems. We don't have one. We have a number of different panels. You know, they've got these yellow ones. We've got some green ones. We've got some little hog panels like this. And we don't really have one established system to manage and you know, manage the flow of animals. And yeah, it's causes some marital stress. It definitely keeps me awake at night. And exercises like what we're about to do today, the neighbor's gonna come over and I know he's gonna judge me for this. But as funny as that is. But what we're gonna try and do is swing the gate open and then run one of these panels off the end of the gate so that I can swing this yellow panel open to that gate, and then that will create an alleyway into the back of his trailer. And that's either gonna work or it's not gonna work. That kind of remains to be seen. Just going to be hopeful that it works. So you'll have to forgive me, I'm out of breath. I just finished sorting these ones from those ones, or vice versa, however. So those over there are the 4 that are going to get back. I think I said earlier there was going to be 3, but turns out there was a ewe lamb that accidentally made it into here. So her separated in the 3 wether lambs. And so when you look at these ones, this is what I'm talking about, the B team. This is what I'm talking about, separating the cream from the milk, really. So these are the ones going down the road, and it's unfortunate because when you sell livestock, I mean, you really want it to be a representative sample of your best. But in this particular year, these are the ones going down the road, and we're keeping the best ones. So these are smaller. Maybe they were born late, or they're from, like Beatrice as an example, she's a Shetland Dorset cross. So generally a smaller breed to begin with, generally slower growing and lower size by the time they reach maturity. And some of them are just generally unthrifty. A couple like Juliet is an example. She's probably 10 years old, right? So she's going down the road as a cull ewe because the last 2 years she's had singles, and which in some years is forgivable depending on what she's having and the size and when she's having it in a year. But she was one of the last ones to lamb this year, a lot of the last ones to lamb last year, and so she just requires a lot more maintenance in terms of, you know, everybody else is lambed and you're still coming out at 2 o'clock in the morning to check on Juliet. Well, there's a point of affection that eventually it runs out, and you just got to say, you know, it's time, right? But then by comparison to these ones that I just separated out here, they are built, they're thick, they're muscular, and that's why I have no problem when I'm selecting lambs to go for that direct to consumer sale. These are representative. These are the A team. These are the ones that I want to go to the customer and represent the type of breeding stock, type of feed stock that we're raising here. And these ones, unfortunately, will go to Tofield in the next day or 2 here. And yeah, I don't know if they're going to feed. I'm not even sure. Like I said, I'm green to this market business. We've typically only in previous years ever sold directly to the consumer. So these ones may, I don't know if they go to a feedlot or if they just go direct to butcher. I'm not sure exactly how that works yet. But again, I've got to make some tough decisions as a producer to stick with, you know, our best in such a, you know, a heartbreaking year where the grass just didn't grow. There was no summer feed, and there's just no winter feed coming up. And so we're even having to look at alternative feed sources. I don't know how much molasses we're going to buy this year, but boy, oh boy. I mean, you think the work's been cut out for us all summer long. In reality, the work is just beginning. You know, it's kind of funny. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's probably about 500 geese flying off of the lake over there. And so about a month ago about a month ago now, we must have had 2,000 ducks fly over the house and say, you know, enough of this nonsense, we're heading south. And that was a trigger. That was like, okay, we're in for an early fall. And I mean, it remains to be seen what that means for winter. And lo and behold, we did get an early fall. But surprisingly, that fall so far has been incredibly mild. Now, the last few days, I think brings that into question. The last few days, I mean, we've been getting down to like 2-3 degrees at night, and it's definitely, it's been breezier. It's really that kind of weather that turns everything yellow and orange and red, and ladies run out and they get this hankering for pumpkin spice and fuzzy boots and all that kind of stuff. But it's getting cold. It's getting cold, and the reality is that we've been lulled, especially us, right, myself included, have been lulled into this false sense of security, this love for autumn that has previously not been felt in other years. And one day I'm going to wake up and all our garden hoses, every single one of them, is stretched out over the lawn full of water, and will more than likely be frozen solid, and it'll be the flight of the bumblebee, the mad panic, to get them all disconnected, hung up in the shop, and defrosted, and figure out how we're going to get water to a whole bunch of animals here. So speaking of tough choices, I earlier today I actually posted on my personal page some stuff regarding the recent update from the Alberta government. So for those that are not in Alberta and don't know what I'm talking about, we didn't go into another lockdown. We went into a modified lockdown, I guess. They're saying that if you don't have the vaccine, there's restrictions on that stuff. And if you do have the vaccine, you're required to present your proof of immunization for access to a lot of services and things like that. Which, right or wrong, I'm not going to get into. It's just, this is the current situation we're in. And so I had made note that, all of this is in relation to individuals' choices, and the government makes choices based on the information that's available to them and the current atmosphere that they're in at any given moment in time. And usually, depending on the individual choices that the greater populace makes, the government will have to respond one way or the other accordingly. Now, some of this was warmly received, and some of it was not. But like I said, it all comes down to choices. It comes down 100% to the individual choices we make as people. And I'm not going to get into the anti-vax, pro-vax, anti-mask, pro-mask, that kind of debate. Is COVID real or is it not real? Again, this is just indicative of our current environment in the world in which we live in and the choices that we make. And a lot of people are saying no, but they're soft selling the no, right? And my point in this is that there was some cries early on in the debate that you can decline without refusing. Well, I can decline a vaccine, or I can decline to wear a mask without refusing, and that's because people put the negative thing towards that refusal, where in fact it's the refusal that actually empowers them. And so if they want to create change, it needs to be a hard no. It needs to be a hard no, I'm not doing this. The government is going to respond and say, if you're not going to do this, you're not going to be allowed to do X, Y, and Z. And your principles then have to stand up to the fact that X, Y, and Z are not available to you, because X, Y, and Z are privileges. Let's be honest, there's 99 things out of 100 that are privileges, not rights. And we cry foul lots of time, but I mean, it says very clearly in the Bible, you give unto Caesar what's due unto Caesar, and you give unto God what's due unto God. And I think a lot of people still want to suck milk off the government tit without ever having to pay for it. And so that is the cost. That's when I talk about giving unto Caesar what's due unto Caesar. That's the cost of society. That's the reality. And if our no is truly based on our principles, it is in fact a hard no, then we have to remove ourselves. We have to base that on our principles and say, you know what? There's a hard no there. That means no Walmart. That means I'm not going to facilitate my presence in all of these societal experiences, because I'm not participating in all of this stuff, right? My no means no. It doesn't mean no during this and no during that, but maybe over here, and yes, I'd still like to do that. It's a hard no, or it's nothing. And I think in reality, that's where a lot of people get confused with the true meaning of freedom, right? They think freedom means I can do whatever the heck I want. But oftentimes that whatever the heck you want to do is actually impinging on the freedom of somebody else or the rights of somebody else. So freedom doesn't necessarily mean you've got the right to just go out and do whatever. Freedom means you have the right to remove yourself from whatever and do whatever you want to do, as long as it doesn't impinge on the rights and the well-being of others. And oftentimes that gets forgotten. That's, you know, people just think, oh, I can do whatever I want, nobody can tell me otherwise. Well, that's not freedom. That's just being an asshole. So as you can tell, it's getting quite dark out, and I'm just down here with our breeder ewes, and it's time to move them out of the big pie-shaped piece and into the little pie-shaped piece and the dugout pasture there, and just let this, well, I wouldn't say rest for a little while, maybe relax is a better term. One of the things, you know, it's especially in rotational grazing, is you do want to let your pastures rest, and we're finding that this year, due to it being a drought and due to it being such a feed shortage, that we're really not effectively able to do that. And so we're having to run the animals back onto previously grazed pastures as that grass regrows. And then so they're coming back in you know, 21 days ish, thereabouts, as opposed to the 45 to 60 days that we would typically see in a normal year. Now what that does is it places the animal itself under greater parasite stress. And so what we'll see is when we bring these animals in to the yard for the winter for breeding season, is we're probably going to have to deworm every one of these animals, right? Well, I mean, we'll do FAMACHA score checks on all of them. We'll check conditioning and stuff like that. But the reality is, just because of the additional parasite load and parasite stress, because of the inability to rotate as frequently as we want, or leave our pastures to rest for as long as we want, it has a consequence. So big picture wise, this is why we need idiots to stop buying up all the Ivomec, because we're going to need it for these animals. So stop doing that and injecting up your buttholes or whatever you're doing with it, because we need it for the sheep. So that's chores all done for the evening, and I think it's time for a cup of tea. And hopefully I didn't offend too many people with today's video. But if I did, just remember that we're most often offended when we're handed a truth that we're not yet ready to hear. But on that note, I'll let you go for now. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.